Fantastic Four 172. And this is how you create a epic, operatic, sci-fi classic. And the one thing that makes this book special for me is this was done by George Pérez. Rest in peace, good sir. But this was back before he finally severed ties with Marvel, which, if you guys know, I haven't really done a lot of digging. But if you all know why he severed ties with Marvel, let me know. Because, I mean, when he severed them, he never went back from what I understand. But you go back and you see the artwork on it. And for me, I may be wrong, but when you look at the artwork like this, you can very much see that Jack Kirby inspiration style. I mean, Kirby, of course, had his own flavor, but you can see, and I've said this before in many reviews, where you can see how Kirby really influenced many of today's artists, even though they may not take the full-on look of what Kirby did, because he had that sort of more sleek retro look to it. But in terms of the posing, the detailed backgrounds, the paneling, it's just there. You can feel it. So this is called Cry the Bedeviled Planet. I promise I can talk. This is Roy Thomas plot and editing, Bill Mantlo doing the script, George Pérez art, Joe Sinnott doing the inks, and Joe Rosen was the letter. And Petra, what do you call it? Over time, the pages are a little faded, so it's hard to read. Petra G was the colorist. And the print date on this was, I know it was a long time ago, 1976. There it is. But the Fantastic Four have captured this alien gorilla. Forget the fact that the being shackled to the wall is, to all outward appearances, a gorilla. Forget even the being's color and the gleaming golden hue of his fur. And try, if you can, to forget that his jaws, never designed for human speech, have just mouthed words. Forget all that. It's not important. What is important, however, the name the beast has dared to utter. No man may forget. Galactus. And just as I just said at the beginning, sorry guys, I've not had enough coffee today, so I'm all over the place. So you're just going to have to roll with me on this. When I was talking about this is how you create an operatic level sci-fi tale, I miss this type of writing. I've seen modern artists and writers try to emulate it, but it doesn't flow or feel organic like it did back in the day. Call me a boomer if you want, but I'll read a lot of this. And you know, writers have their own flavors and styles. But damn, do I miss how, you know, and I've said this in our deep dive story, in our deep dive videos on the After Dark channel. Kirby said that comic books are our modern mythos. So these are our Gilgameshes. These are our Greek gods. These are our Beowulfs, so to speak. And what I loved about writers like Kirby, Lee, well, Kirby was an artist, sorry, Roy Thomas, Jack Kirby, and all the like, when you read these, you know, of course, people back in the day, like in the age of Golden Key, they always called those the funny pages. I hate that to this day, it still bugs me. Because back then, you know, they were just adapted comics like DuckTale or Scrooge McDuck and Casper. But then you started getting these writers coming in, and the writing levels started to, in my personal opinion, start to feel Shakespearean, or something that you would read out of a mythological tale. And just reading that, you feel the gravitas of what Galactus means to Reed Richards and the universe at large. And then, of course, these titles, Cry the Bedeviled Planet, right there. When you first read it, it's not going to hit you. But after you've gone through this book, and just in these 3 lines, it encompasses everything that this issue is talking about. So the Fantastic Four last issue captured this guy because they don't know what he's about. And I love that they at least give you, what do you call it, a recap of what's going on. And the only person that's willing to give him the benefit of the doubt is Sue. Thank you, human, for saving Gorr's life. Still ain't said nothing about to make sure I shouldn't regret doing it, pal. No, but you still haven't explained about Galactus. Husband of mine. How much would you feel like explaining chains? They do not see she-human. Even with the fear close upon them, they chose not to understand. But there is no time. What was it Richard had said? An apparatus once prepared for the Hulk. Look out, Ben. He's breaking free. So we see that Gorr was just biding, not in a villain sense biding his time, but he was showing that he could leave anytime he wanted. But because the Fantastic Four won't listen to him, he escapes back to his ship. And of course, the team's on their trail. I guess you could call this a morbid laugh, but every time that Reed gets punched in a certain way, I just love how he just goes, just all freaking Taffy style. It always makes me laugh. And the artwork, freaking A. Again, going back to how you can see Perez's inspiration from Jack Kirby. Look at how Sue using her powers here with the line work. And again here, where Gorr smacks Reed, you just get that manga style line work, the action lines. But again, very much you would see something in like the early Daredevil or early Avengers or X-Men comic books. And you can just see why, even when you go back and read How to Draw the Marvel Way, when you'll see artwork from like Jack Kirby, Dave Cockrum, I think John Byrne's in there too. But you can see why this started to become an industry standard, and why a lot of comic artists, like even on TikTok to this day, will still say some of the books that inspired me to draw. And right there in the midst of it is How to Draw the Marvel Way. If you guys have never seen it, I have gone over it, and I'll try to remember to put a card up here so you can check it out. But if you look up Chris Mack, How to Draw the Marvel Way, I'm sure it'll come up. Anyway, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the story. So, of course, Fantastic Four not rage, but in hot pursuit, and they end up in Gorr's ship. Gorr baited us, and we flew right into it, like sheep to the slaughter. And then, of course, ads. Gotta love the ads. And, we all know Stan now is old. Sorry, but, for the last however many, he's looked like Grandpa Stan, and we all love him. So it's funny to go back to these times and see when he had the flaring 70s hair and Celsior. It's just an interesting dynamic to how we've known him over the last umpteen years before he passed. Greetings, I am overjoyed to find that you have all survived. No thanks to you, King Kong. Hold it, Ben. We're the captives now. Baloney, Reed. That ape's got some answering to do. It's his turn now, John. We had ours. We're listening, Gorr. It is all I ever asked, human. But though my tale is of the fear, it must be preceded by the tale of another. And so we find out how about the High Evolutionary created his own Earth. The counter-Earth, as he calls it. I have created a new Earth. A counter-Earth. It would be without blemish, without sin. But the Creator slept, leaving a golden-hued, nameless one watching from space. As evil, in the guise of the murderous man-beast, entered and destroyed the dream of peace forever. The sinless men of counter-Earth were taught the nature of the beast. And yet, the Golden One took revenge. He was called Adam Warlock. My lord saw that this was good. Time, he became the deliverer of the other Earth. And the man-beast was destroyed. So I love right there that we get another quick synopsis of what counter-Earth is. So what, in 1, 2, 3, 4, we get a backstory of why this is important and who the protector was. And for those of those that may not know who Adam Warlock is, right there, boom, you realize that he is not Earth 1 or Earth 616, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, listen, chum, all this is peachy keen. Other Earths a talking gorilla dressed to kill, but you would know about Galactus. And this panel, oh, I miss paneling like this. You see that the Fantastic Four listening on the side, Gorr's head here in the middle. And so this is essentially what you would, in a TV sense, you would call this a montage. But this collage gives you the passage of time. The High Evolutionary brooded over the fate of his counter-Earth. Now no different from many other worlds that floated through space. And in my cage, bestial and unthinking, even I sensed his desire. For still did he hunger after perfection. Still did he bear the hopes of God. So at this point, the High Evolutionary is attacked, and he takes Gorr Right here it says, for during those few moments when it was possible, the destroyer had sensed the existence of counter. The destroyer, he whom, as you doubtlessly know, has become the sky-spanning herald of Galactus. And with an urgency such as I had never seen in him, he led me to the slab. I screamed as my genes worked the path of millennia. In mere seconds, screamed at the birth of thoughts within me I had never known before. When the process was done, and I was made to understand all there was to know, this creator dispatched me to seek aid from the first earth, from those who had faced the fear and triumphed over it. So Gorr is brought to the Fantastic Four to counter Earth to assist the High Evolutionary against the Herald of Galactus. And so the latter half is them finally agreeing to help. And here's another thing, and this is something that I will say that I'm glad that it has been retconned. So even though the Thing looks like the Thing, they're all getting ready to put on these spacesuits, and Reed says, you don't need to wear one, Ben. For a short time, you can exist out in the air that will be locked in your exoskeleton if you keep its mouth shut. Oh, forget it. So apparently, I don't know what issue it was. There's a couple of issues back, but essentially, Ben Grimm has reverted back to being human. How? I have no idea. What issue? If you guys know, let me know. I'd like to pick that up. But to still help with the team, Reed created an exosuit that was just almost as powerful as who he was. So what we're seeing is just an exoskeleton. It's just an interesting little tweak, but I'm glad that was retconned because it's still kind of silly in a sense. And it also negates the whole thing of Reed, of what, essentially drove Reed after they became the humans, is there was always that friction. Even though Ben never really went after Reed, he was still bitter about being created in the rock. And Reed always harboring, the guilt of what had happened and drove him to try to fix his friend. So this sort of negates that premise, in my opinion. So the latter half of the book, great artwork, that just great fighting as Ben tries to take out the Destroyer. And I want you guys to go read the book, but I wanted to show this last panel. Holy crap. Galactus. Yet he has served his purpose, finding for his master a world to appease Galactus's hunger. For though I am forsworn never again to prey on your earth, still Galactus must live. And so, counter Earth must die. That's how you do an operatic space tale, my friends. And making you want to pick up the next issue, because now we've fought the Destroyer, and next issue, classic Marvel style, we will see them fight Galactus once again. Holy crap, did I love this issue. I can't remember how I came across this book. It was by sheer happenstance. I'm glad that it's in the collection. So if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen and you want some early George Pérez artwork, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is that get your action figures and comics, and grab this issue and this art. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you want to hit that fancy little fantastic bell, next subscribe. That way I get to upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel. I love to talk with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.